The train doors hissed open, and the first thing that hit me was the noise. Not just the rumble of the tracks, but a symphony of 1,000 different lives happening all at once. Car horns, distant sirens, the murmur of a million conversations. It was a wall of sound. My name is Leo, and just an hour ago my world was the quiet hum of a single country road. Now, I was standing in the heart of the city, a tiny boat tossed into a massive roaring ocean. I clutched the strap of my oversized duffel bag, my knuckles white. Above me, buildings scraped the sky, their glass and steel skins reflecting a sky I barely recognized. At night, they told me the city didn't sleep. It just changed its clothes, trading sunlight for a dazzling coat of neon. Looking up, I felt a dizzying vertigo, like the entire world was leaning in to inspect me, this small-town kid with worn-out sneakers and a map that suddenly felt useless. My first mission, the subway. Back home, public transport was a single bus that came twice a day. Here, it was a labyrinth of colored lines, a web spun by a giant metallic spider. I stood before the station map, my eyes darting between the red line, the blue line, the express, the local. People flowed around me like a river, expertly swiping their cards and disappearing into the tunnels. I took a deep breath, fumbled with my ticket, and managed to get through the turnstile on the third try. Down on the platform, the air was thick and warm, smelling of electricity and something vaguely sweet. A train roared into the station, a gust of wind pushing me back. I squeezed myself into a car packed with people, all experts at avoiding eye contact, lost in their own worlds of music and thoughts. Pressed against the window, I watched the dark tunnels flash with lights, each stop a new bewildering world. Getting off at my stop felt like a small victory, but the challenge was far from over. The address I had was for a small apartment I'd only seen in grainy photos online. Finding it felt like a scavenger hunt designed by a madman. The streets were a maze of one-ways and identical-looking brownstones. Every corner I turned, I expected to find a familiar landmark, but there were none. Just more people, more buildings, more noise. After what felt like hours of walking in circles, my phone battery dying, I finally found it. Number 4B. The key turned in the lock with a satisfying click. The apartment was cozy. That's the word real estate agents use when they mean small. It was a single room with a tiny kitchen and a window that looked out onto a brick wall. The silence inside was almost as jarring as the noise outside. I dropped my bag on the floor, the sound echoing in the empty space. And that's when it hit me, the loneliness. It was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest. In a city of millions, I had never felt so completely and utterly alone. The first few weeks were a blur of unpacking boxes and trying to establish a routine. I'd walk the streets, a ghost among the living, watching groups of friends laughing in cafes, couples holding hands in the park. The city was a party I hadn't been invited to. I tried calling my parents, but the cheerful sounds of home, my dog barking, the rustle of leaves only made the sterile silence of my apartment more profound. I felt like I made a huge mistake. This wasn't the grand adventure I'd imagined. It was a self-imposed exile. One evening, desperate for a change of scenery from my brick wall view, I decided to explore my building. I climbed the stairs past my floor, all the way to the top. A heavy metal door had a sign that read, "Roof access, authorized personnel only." I hesitated for a moment, then pushed it open, and I stepped into another world. It was a hidden garden, a patch of vibrant green floating above the concrete jungle. There were potted plants everywhere, strings of fairy lights woven through trellises, and makeshift benches made from old crates. In the center, a group of people, all around my age, were gathered, chatting and laughing softly. They looked up as I emerged, and for a second I froze, ready to apologize and retreat. But then, a girl with bright pink hair smiled. "Lost?" she asked, her voice kind. "Or just escaping?" "A bit of both," I admitted. She gestured to an empty spot on a bench. "Come on, there's always room for one more escapee." Her name was Maya. Soon I met the other Sam, who was studying music and always had a guitar nearby. Chloe, a painter who used the rooftop as her open-air studio, and Ben, chef, who brought up experimental snacks from the restaurant where he worked. They were all like me, drawn to the city by a dream, and like me they had found the transition overwhelming at times. This rooftop became my sanctuary. We'd spend hours up there, sharing stories of our hometowns, our struggles, our hopes. Sam would play gentle melodies on his guitar, the notes drifting out over the city. Chloe would paint the skyline, capturing the shifting colors of the sunset. We share Ben's weird but delicious creations and talk about everything and nothing. Up there, suspended between the sky and the street, the city's noise became a gentle hum, a backdrop to our conversations. The towering buildings weren't intimidating anymore, they were just part of the landscape. The loneliness that had been my constant companion began to fade, replaced by the easy comfort of friendship. I was learning the city's secret language, not from a map, but from the people who lived in it. Tonight I'm standing on the rooftop alone, leaning against the railing. The city sprawls before me, a breathtaking tapestry of a million tiny lights. Each light is a window, a story, a life. Down there, the subways are still rumbling, the crowds are still rushing, the symphony is still playing. But it doesn't sound like noise anymore. It sounds like life. It sounds like potential. The fear is gone, replaced by a quiet excitement. I'm not just a visitor anymore. This is my city now, my home, and I'm ready to see what happens next. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own move into a new city story in the comments below. See you in the next video.